Hey, welcome everybody. I'm John Schmidt. I work at the College of Biomedical Equipment Technology. Some of you might have heard of, some of you might know me. There are a couple people here I know that have seen me teach. So I'm going to tell you there's an agenda. That doesn't mean we're going to follow it, right? I really like to interact. I like to communicate, and I learn just as much as when that happens as I do when I teach. So your input is greatly appreciated, right? And I'm looking around because there's a lot of us over 40 guys in here. There's a lot of knowledge in this room. There's a lot of things that you guys have seen that I haven't. There's a lot of things that maybe I've seen that you haven't. My background, 6 years ago, I couldn't spell BMET. Didn't even know what it was. Went to the hospital and saw an IV pump and just assumed that it worked. Right? Didn't know that was somebody's job. Got a phone call from a great friend of mine and said, John, I want you to come work for me in biomed. I'm an IT guy. Right? I've worked US Cybercom. I've worked Department of Army Cyber. I've worked for the NSA. I've worked Fort Meade. I actually am a certified ethical hacker. That's a real thing. I'm ethical with my hacking. But I have a strong background in IT. When I came to this industry about 6 years ago, I looked at mine and I said, hey, you know what? This thing is evolving. This thing that you call biomed, it's evolving. And I see it. And that's really about the time when IT departments were starting to get involved. You guys remember those days? And we were like, this is really leaning in a different direction. So how do we keep up with this technology? And more importantly, how do we embrace today's technology, right? We've even got to embrace today. But before we do that, we have to know some things, right? Again, there's an agenda. There's an agenda, and we'll talk about it. But my question now is, today, right now, what's your operational responsibilities? Huh? Stops at the wall. So we're talking about networking, right? So in networking, it stops at the wall. And I'll contest to that because I actually did work at Army Reynolds Hospital. And when they come and tell me that there was a problem with IT, I would walk in and I would plug my sniffer in and it would flash 8 times and I'd be like, you're good, bro, I'm out. So is it your responsibility from the wall? Or is it a collaborative?
Well, with Wi-Fi, you basically have more than the wall. So
well, that's another sniffer. I just walk in and I see it. You got Wi-Fi.
You go to EMR and Cerner, and then you go through that. So our responsibility doesn't end. It just goes to the cloud.
Okay, so all the way to the cloud is what you own. What about some other operational responsibilities that you have? How about simple ones? Go ahead, Bill. So now at this current point, their role and responsibility, their operational responsibility is collaboration, right? How about some other responsibilities like install and configure medical devices? Is that not your operational responsibility? How do you perform that function without the IT function? You can't, right? Well, you can. It's just not to the limits that you want, right? From this side, right? Ensure proper function of medical devices and integration. How do you ensure that integration? Talk to me, Goose. People understand that now. It used to be when I said it, people were like, what are you talking about? But with the new Top Gun out, people understand it now. They ensure proper function. How do we do that from a biomed standpoint in today's society, in today's biomed field? You look inquisitive. You look thinking. All right, diagnose and resolve technical issues. This is the cool thing. From an IT guy, when you tell me a system isn't connected, I don't even have to get up. Right? I have monitor systems where I can see from my desk if it's connected or not. Now, if I see it's not connected, I've kind of got to get up, right? I got to get up and go, well, is it actually plugged in? And all right, step one. What's step one when you don't have connectivity? This is the most important thing you can learn. What's step one? Close. You're close. Close. But how about this? Do you have blinky lights? And what color is it? Is it orange or is it green? What's that mean? You said it. What's it mean?
It depends on manufacturer. Some green is good, some orange is good.
Some green is good, some orange is good. Orange normally in an IEEE society, orange means you're connected but no internet. Green means you're connected with internet. Did you know that? Look at that, we learned something today. It's successful. We've learned something successful already, right? Yeah, checking that connectivity. And then test devices, transmissions, and confirm seamless integration. Who has brought in a device and IT said, you can't connect that? Has anyone done that? Go ahead, yeah. Where at? What's behind that?
One instance, we had a hub on an MRI. I worked in an Army facility.
Yeah, so why not? Why not let a hub? Because it's unsecure, right? It's vulnerabilities. What's number 3 target right now in cyber hacking and security? Hospitals. Hospitals. Because they've got really good data. And I say that from an ethical standpoint. They've got really good data. All right, there's some other things. Upgrading outdated devices. Talked about this with Dan just yesterday. How do you track what version of software your systems are on? That's a confusing question, right? How do you track what updates have been put on and what updates haven't? Who here has a system that's running on Windows 11?
3 months from now, we're gonna get.
So you're getting to Windows 11. How many have Windows 10? You know it's end of life in like 4 months. It's no longer being supported. So it'll have no more security patches. So how do you update that? How do we move forward into that future? All right, expanding hospital structures. How many hospitals are expanding? All of them, right? All of them. And when I say are they expanding, I don't mean are they building new buildings, but are they making more connections? How many medical devices on average are networked in a hospital right now? Just your average rural hospital.
60%.
It's a percentage. It's about 75%, which equates to about 9,000 devices per hospital. And I'm talking about a rural hospital, not like a MD Anderson or Mercy General, but I'm talking Cleveland Clinic. I'm talking about rural hospitals. That's a small hospital, like a 300-400 bed hospital, 9,000 devices. And that's not counting the commuters. That's just medical devices. Right? How many infusion pumps do you have? How are you expanding that infrastructure? I saw an email where there's like, I think 490,000 infusion pumps being shipped within the next 6 months that have new network capabilities and security capabilities. That's an additional 400,000 pieces of your equipment that are going to be added to a hospital network. How do you manage that? That's a good question. And how do you address those cyber vulnerabilities? Right. So BMETs have to bridge the gap. Your job, what Bill talked about, is to bridge that gap. Who knows more about a biomedical device than you? No one. And here's more important. When one breaks, whose fault is it? Doesn't matter if it's network, right? It doesn't matter what the cause is. It doesn't matter if it's the nurse that's doing the wrong button. It's your fault, right? Because you are the spokesperson for that equipment. If you think about it, you're the spokesperson for medical devices, and you have to evaluate those requirements. You have to evaluate those needs. Right? You have to collaborate with the IT staff. Who here has collaborated with an IT staff? Anybody over here? How was it? Challenging. Why is it challenging?
I think it's just like a border where they are not willing to cross, like a line. They say, nope, this is as far as I can go. I don't want to.
There's absolutely borders, and I love to bring this up. There's about 9 borders in all actuality inside of IT. Why? Because do you work on infusion pumps?
No, but my text.
Do they work on patient monitors?
Yes.
Do they work on CTs?
No.
Why not?
Because they're not imaging tests.
Oh, but your IT help desk, he can't work on networking because he's not a network tech. So how come that's a problem? He's got to go to somebody else. You go to somebody else. He's got to go to somebody else. He can't do networking. And oh, by the way, there's also an MRI guy who's also known as a securities IT guy. You got to go to somebody else. They have their own walls built in, just like you. And it makes sense because if one person had all the passwords, how bad would that be? Right? If one person had all the keys to the kingdom, that wouldn't be good, would it? Right? All I got to do is hack one person. Makes life easier for me. Right? So ensuring that minimum disruption, that's what we're doing, right? So we've got to do all this device. This is stuff that we're supposed to be doing every day now. Right? We're supposed to be ensuring compatibility. We're supposed to be ensuring the updates are done. We're supposed to be ensuring that it's on the right version. We're supposed to be ensured that it's plugged into the right port, in the right location. Of those 9,000 devices that are connected, we're supposed to be maintaining all of them. Are we doing that? I think we are, just not really good. right? And it's not a fault. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's just the nature of evolution and the evolution of networking and the evolution of IT. It moves fast, right? It moves fast. It moves at what we call machine speed. Right? They had two supercomputers, one at Google and one at Amazon, and they connected them together. 18 seconds later, they were like, there's weird traffic going on. And they stopped, they disconnected them, and they looked. The two supercomputers invented a new language to talk to each other faster. That's machine speed. Development is fast. And now we're adding things like AI. We're adding all these different things, and also our needs are becoming greater. Right? Our needs, because now instead of 15 nurses that run a section, there's 5 with a central control station. So the needs of the hospital have changed. The needs of the assessment, the selection of the devices, the implementation of them, as well as the validation of them. That's our job. That's what we got to do to make sure it's there. All right. So what are some challenges to integration? Has anybody worked integrating new products? What's some of your challenges?
Connectivity. I mean, it's always just growing.
So connectivity.
Yeah, multiple applications. Things tap in, like we have to help connect. Also, there's middleware or middle software.
So he brought up a good point. Middleware. You guys, you know what middleware is? So that's that Windows 10 machine that connects to middleware that connects to your network. The middleware is what protects it. But that's another device to manage. Usually that's an IT managed device. Right? But it's a way to get it connected. But he said a lot of really good points, right? Connectivity. You guys know what an IP address is? All computers have an IP address. That's how they talk on the internet. There's only so many of them. And you have to allocate them. They have to be, every device has to have its own one, has to be unique. Otherwise they'll conflict and they won't talk to each other. It'll create conflicts. So IP addressing, network connectivity is important. Not just the logical part of it, but the physical part of it. How big is the switch that you plug it in? Is it a 12 port? Is it a 24 port? Is it a 48 port? How many things are already in it? How many things are already connected? These are all integration challenges. What's some other integration challenges?
Sometimes the construction of the hospital is a challenge by itself. They buy some equipment in the hospitals, they check with the facility side to see if they can integrate.
Can't even get it integrated? Like it's so big it doesn't fit through the door? I've heard that story before. Somebody bought an MRI and it didn't fit through the door, so they ended up having to build another room out in a warehouse that was the MRI room because it wouldn't go through the doors. Yeah, there's lots of integration challenges, but what's more challenges with that? Now I've got to get power, I got to get water, I got to get air, I got to get vacuum, I got to get network to there. I got to integrate it into there. And then I have to integrate that system into my healthcare network. So it's an integration challenge. What's some other ones? EMR interface, right? EMR, because what's the most important thing we got at the hospital? Huh? Data, right? Data. Data is critical. So those patient records and the electronic medical records, that's some critical stuff, right? Because what's the goal? What's the end goal of networking a hospital? Not just to capture all the data, but to improve patient care. Right? And I've told this story. I told it yesterday in all actuality, so Dan, plug your ears. Right? Back in the old days, when I was in the Army and I had to go get x-rays, I would have to go into the doctor's office with my pink medical records because my Social Security number ends in 8. So in the Army, whatever color your Social Security number ends in, that's what color your medical records are. So I had to grab my pink records. So I had to go to medical record. And I had to get my pink medical records. And then I'd go to the doctor's office. And then I'd get my vitals all done. And they'd put it all on a piece of paper. And they'd say, okay, now you got to go to x-ray. And then I'd go to x-ray. And then I'd wait there for an hour or two. And then they'd fill out some paperwork. And then I'd sit there a little bit longer. And they'd hand me another envelope. And I'd put it in my pink folder. And I would walk back over to the doctor. And I would sit down and I would wait. And they would call me up and they'd fill out some more paperwork. And then I go into the doctor and he'd open up and go, yeah, that one's not good enough. I need you to go back. But all that is now circumvented by EMR, patient care. So integrating all that, the challenge of integrating all that and getting them to cross from one network to another without making them vulnerable is a challenge. And how do we manage that challenge? It's tough. So there's the compatibility issues. Another one is training. Training is a critical part of integration, isn't it? Training is a huge part. Think about it, in a hospital like MD Anderson, if I get a new pump and I've got to do PMs on them, and oh, by the way, I bought 5,000 of them, and I have 90 techs, I have to train all those techs, and I have to retain them. We know that's a challenge too, right? One of the problems with integration is retaining your talent, right? And then I have to manage the data flow and troubleshoot the issues, support the end user. So we have challenges with IT. IT has challenges to be met. But at the end of the day, what's everyone's goal? Patient care, right? And as long as we keep that thought in our mind, integration will be easier. If we keep the thought in that everybody there is really there for patient care and they're doing their best to support patient care, it makes things less disruptive, right? In your mind, when you think about it. It's not just a jerk that won't do it for me. He's doing it for a reason. There's a concept there. He's trying to reach that patient care and supporting that end user. So updating firmware, monitoring for vulnerabilities, collaborating with IT to secure networks, right? So this is a collaboration thing. This is stuff that we're doing now, guys. This is stuff that we're doing now. Sorry, my phone keeps vibrating, so I'm putting it down. These are things that we're supposed to be doing now. This is our now time. This isn't the future. This is yesterday and today. Right? These are all the things of yesterday and today. We haven't even made it to tomorrow yet. Hello. And oh, by the way, underneath all of that and behind it is the nonstop compliance standards. The nonstop changing compliance standards that we have to hit. And these are just a couple for us, right? The biomed. There is the IEEE standards. There's a whole bunch of other standards for IT that they have to follow too, right? The, how do we screw these up? The DICOM and HL7. Yeah, hate acronyms. HL7. So the DICOM, right? So we're still following all that. So there's all these compliance standards that we still have to comply with, right? We still have to work through all these. These are on top of it. So how do we move forward into tomorrow? So how do we move forward into tomorrow, and how do we shape with all this stuff that we're trying to do now? How do we move forward?
Learn a common language.
Start with learn a common language, right? And I tell this story a lot, right? What happened? Why didn't we ever get a tower all the way to heaven? It's where, you know, right? If you believe in the Bible, if you follow the Bible, it's the Tower of Babylon. So they were trying to build a tower to heaven, and God said, well, I'm going to screw this all up and make you all speak different languages. That's how languages came about. But we have them too, right? And we talked about it again. I talked about it yesterday too, right? If you're speaking Spanish, I'm teaching French, he's speaking Italian, and you're speaking Portugal, what are we doing together? No communication, right? So we've got to communicate. So the number one thing for moving forward in tomorrow is communicating and working through it. And that role, coming up with that role, do I? Yeah. So we got to come up with that role of the biomed, and that's what we got to start with. We got to start looking at what is our responsibilities in the future. What's coming next? How do we get there? Why is it important? Because advances are at unprecedented rate, and it's only going to get faster. Like the two supercomputers connected together. It's just going to get faster. Our responsibilities and roles are just going to get faster. And they're going to become more and more and more and more. Intel, when I worked for the Intel Corporation, they had a philosophy of do more with less and double the speed of output. Right? Moore's law. Right? Moore's law is the number of transistors will double in every half iteration of production. And what that means is if I make something in a year, its upgrade will come in 6 months, and its upgrade will come in 3 months, and its upgrade will come in a month and a half, and its upgrade will come in 3 weeks. Evolution is going to keep moving. And then the evolution of the role. How? I'm going to look for you over 40 guys. How much has the role of a biomed changed since you started as a biomed?
Probably 60%.
60%. So when you first got hired as a biomed, what department did you work in? But underneath that, who was the boss over that? Maintenance, right? Maintenance, because you were a maintenance guy. Where's my young guy? What department are you in right now? Who's above that?
Well, we separated a few years ago, but engineering was above us at first. Yeah.
So now it's engineering. So how much has that role changed in that amount of time? It's constant. You're moving from that maintenance and troubleshooting to that more technical field, to that more multi-dimensional profession where you have to understand IT. You have to understand your basics. You have to understand your PM, your preventive maintenance, but now you've got a lot more roles inside of that. And what we're calling it is the 2.0 mindset. You're moving to that 2.0 mindset that encompasses that productive growth or proactive growth. So if you're thinking through what's next, what?
So why is it that whenever biomed goes to IT, things fall apart? When they move back to engineering or facility?
Okay, and I'm going to go back to exactly what Don just said. It's language. Because you don't understand what they're saying, and they don't understand what you're saying.
How about the culture? 'Cause the biomed
Culture is also there.
from IT and they all collapse.
Yeah, culture has an issue with it. I mean, culture and value always plays into it, right? And they can be different, they can be the same. It just kind of depends on the organization. And it depends on the leader in all actuality as well, right? Leaders always, right? What's the number one reason people leave a job? Bad managers, right? Their boss. Number one reason is their boss. It's usually not the job. It's usually the boss. And oddly enough, if we look at this 2.0 mindset, the number two reason is training. Lack of training. They don't get training. Number three reason is lack of growth. You know, salary is like number 7. So if you think you're going to keep somebody with money, I'm going the wrong direction. Right? So it incorporates that 2.0 mindset, right? Life balance is a good one in there too. So how do we incorporate and move to that life balance? But we have to encompass that proactive growth. Right? And there are some core responsibilities inside of today's biomed. Right? It's the equipment maintenance, the regulatory compliance, the support, collaboration, the key technology uses. Right? I just listed a couple. I know there's thousands in there, and I don't take that as an end all encompassing list. And then there's the growing importance of data. The data that your medical devices produce is essential to diagnosis and long-term care. So the protection of that data and the integration of it and data-driven maintenance. What's data-driven maintenance? Go ahead.
Preemptive care.
Preemptive care, yeah, absolutely. But how? How's that work? Have you guys? Predictive is probably a better word. Yeah, predictive is probably a better word, right? So they collect data, and this machine is running, and on average, they run for 10 days. So they know that, hey, in 9 days, you got to do maintenance. Right? It's not, I must do this every 7 days. This is a weekly maintenance PM. No, it's data driven. I know that this normal run time is 15 days, so I've got to be a little bit ahead of that. So instead of just setting these benchmark dates, it's running off data, analyzing your data to determine when you're going to do maintenance. Right? This streamlines your actions because in all actuality, if you have a machine that ran for 2 days and then sat, in today's society, 7 days, it's got to have a PM, right? But data-driven running, it's only 2 days in. You got 5 more days on that piece of equipment. Now, there are still dates associated with it because at some point, you just got to pull it in because we all know that that nurse has that special pump that works great for her in the closet. And we got to go find it and get it. You know what I'm talking about, right? Or that special patient monitor that just seems to always get the right thing. Yeah. So there is that still growing into it. But data-driven maintenance and patient safety through data is important. So we can maintain that, we can watch it. That's kind of the role in today's society. So what challenges do biomeds face? What's some challenges? What challenges do you have today? User training. So training is a huge one, right? Is that user or biomed? I knew it was coming. Right? But how does user training affect you as a biomed? Where IT updated the network?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We don't sleep for 2 days.
You know, that's also a change management process. It doesn't just happen. IT doesn't just be like, oh look, new update, push. No, they like sandbox it and they work through it and everything else. Where are you? So this is my recommendation, and this is one of the things that I love to recommend all the time. ask if you can be involved and inform them that I just want to be a silent member. I just want to be informed. And you'd be amazed how quickly you go from a silent member informed to a participating influencer. Right? Because when they're talking about this stuff, you're like, hey, wait a minute, I have 190 of these connected to this network that you're going to affect. Oh, I didn't know that. And then you just sit back down and be quiet again. And then they're like, hey, next time they'll be like, hey, do you have anything that's going to cause a problem? And you start getting involved, right? That's how you navigate today's tech, is you have to get involved in these change management and these processes that purchase, integrate, and implement change.
And to what you're saying is that one of the best places to get involved is the EOC committee, environmental care committee. Absolutely. Because a lot of times if you have problems, you can't just go to administration, they're busy. And the best time to discuss a problem, because you have all the other directors there that affect the entire hospital, is during the EOC. Say, look, here's a problem we're dealing with, not just with this department, but this one over here, and you can probably get it resolved.
But how do you get in there, Bill?
Well, you should be invited. I mean,
You should be, but who's invited? Who here's been invited? You been invited? How'd it go?
We're very fortunate. We're part of IT. I manage our desktop support engineering 10 years before taking over Biomed, so we are very.
So you're the 2.0 Biomed.
Might be 2.5.
It might be 2.5. That's good. That's awesome. That's awesome. So hey, everybody get his card, take some notes, right? Not to brag, but I'm going to brag. That's really good. No, that's good. I mean, so it can be done, right? We have proof it can be done. We have proof of concept. That's the biggest part, right? Is that management getting in there?
My techs, some of them have been there 40, 50 years. Nobody listens to us. Nobody listens to us because an individual tech won't make so much noise. We have to have that manager that take it.
So leadership makes a huge difference, and being involved with leadership. You don't have to be in leadership to be a leader, right? Leadership does not equate to a title. It equates to actions.
Bring a solution with the problem.
Bring a solution with a problem, absolutely. Right? And this is kind of some of the things, and oddly enough, we actually kind of talked about all of these in that brief little discussion. We talked about keeping skills up to date. We talked about regulatory compliance. We talked about resources constraints and being involved inside of those resources and working through it. We didn't really talk about cybersecurity risks, but it's because it's always there, right? You know how I know it's always there? What's the number one risk to cybersecurity? You. You and me. You and me. We are the number one risk, right? So cybersecurity is always a problem. Because why? Because we want to make it work. We want it to work. We want to be the guy that fixes it, right? Now I tell you, I worked tech and everything else, but before that, I was a technician. I like working on stuff. I like fixing stuff. I like that feeling where I walk up to them and hey, I got it. I got you fixed. You're good to go, right? It's a good feeling. But there are some constraints. There are some things I got to do, right? So as my role expands as a BMED, as you expand, you are no longer confined by them traditional roles. As I said, it doesn't take a title to make you a leader. It takes actions. You're not confined into that basement anymore. Walk out and say, hey, you know what? This is the problem we're having. This is the concerns that I have. These are the effects that you're causing. And you can work through them. You have collaboration opportunities, like in your case, you went from IT to biomed. There's a huge collaborational opportunity there, right? You have that opportunities. We're no longer thought of as that group in the basement. We're thought of that department underneath whatever section, IT, engineering, right, facilities, whatever it is. There's thought that's being thought about us now because there's effects. Right? Now there's effects of us doing our job or not doing our job, or you know, the reaction times, things like that. So you have to be an advocate. That's a tough one. An advocate for change and innovation. Right? Be the advocate. Yes, I can keep these Baxter pumps running for another 2 years, but there's a better one out there. And I'm not going to say any because I don't want to be, you know, I'm going to keep manufacturers out of this conversation. Right? Be that advocate that say, hey, you know what? Yes, you can buy those older ones, or you can do this. What you kind of said. It's not just a problem, it's a solution. You can buy these older ones, But if you buy these are going to evolve with us. These are going to update. These are going to support in 2 years. And I like to ask this question, how long is the average IV pump last? You close with a 1 in the front of it.
Yeah.
17 years. 17 years. So if you're buying today's technology, you are already behind. Right? But nobody has told them that. Because if I buy the latest and greatest laptop today, how long is it good for? 5 to 7 years. Right? On average, 5 to 7 years. And, you're right. If it's a Lenovo, probably not. But anyway, 5 to 7 years. Right? 5 to 7 years. So that's their mindset. Right? When I buy a flat panel TV for my house, how long does it last? 5 to 7 years. When I buy an infusion pump for a hospital, how long does it last? Generations. When I buy a CT, how long does it last? When I buy patient monitors, how long does it last? They don't know that. Their mindset is, I'm buying something for 5 to 7 years from now.
I think the problem now, John, is a lot of these manufacturers are building the medical equipment and the design fail after 5 to 7 years, so they can resell them. There's
Well,
not much we can do.
legally, we can't say that they're designed to fail, Bill.
I'm just saying, that's my.
Everything is designed to fail, right? Everything is designed to failure, right? And that's a true statement. So we've come to a society of throw away and replace, right? We don't repair anymore. I mean, when's the last time somebody soldered a board? Has anybody soldered a board? In school you did, right? But we don't go to that kind of depth, right? We just replace cards. We replace cards. A fuse breaks, pops, we replace cards because there's embedded fuses now. You just swap the card. So we've gone to that society. So you're right, Bill, but there's still the basic function of an IV pump and the connectivity of it. They're still probably going to last 10 to 15 years. Yeah, so it's being that advocate, being that part of it, and getting inside of there, advocating. And then it's always upskilling. You got to always continue to upskill, right? We are a human being, and human beings actually have a desire to learn every day. And that's you're 100% there. If our stuff goes out of date, are unsupported, and we have to upgrade it, are we involved in the decision on what to upgrade it with? Should be, absolutely should be, because that's the difference of buying today's technology that's good for today or buying the technology that's good for today, tomorrow, and beyond. Right? So you're right, that's still also part of it, that making sure it meets compliance, making sure it reads safety, all that other stuff is definitely a part of it, and we have to work through all that. But the end, we have to be involved. We have to be the advocate that says, yeah, this doesn't do it. This is what we need, not this. Yes, it's $10 more, but you're gonna get 10 more years out of it. Right? And how to explain that and how to work through it. Sorry, thank you. And then upskilling yourself and upskilling your team. What did I say was the number 2 reason why people leave jobs? Lack of training. Lack of training, because we want to learn, we want to grow, right? We want to do better, right? I don't know of any tree in the entire world that grows down. Right? We're the same way. Humans grow up, we expand, we get more leaves. Eventually they fall off. That's just things that we forget when we get older. But you know what I mean? You want to expand, you want to learn more. Right? That learning mindset has to be instilled into that BMET 2.0 or 2.5. They got to keep learning. You got to keep developing them. You got to keep growing them to something better, right? Something that we say at CBET a lot is, I'm looking at training a biomed from the day you hire him till the day he retires. They need training throughout that entire process. They need learning from the beginning to the end, no matter what route you take, right? If you want to be a BMET 2, you need training. You want to be a BMET 3, you need training. You want to be a supervisor, you need training. You want to go a different route and be imaging, you need training. Right? You got to continue to develop, continue to grow, and work those strengths and those capabilities. So you have to continue to update throughout. And some things that, like Bill was just talking about, AI is great. Have you guys used AI? Chat GPT. It's a great thing, isn't it? I love me some Chat GPT. It has definitely rewritten some papers for me for college. Now, I'm not saying I used what it spit out, but it was a great start. Right? It's a great start. But it also answers a lot of questions, right? Like what Bill said. You got it now to where you can take a picture of it. There's one, and I saw it, and I don't know where it is, and I got to find it. There's one where you can take a video of your car, and if it's like running rough or something like that, you literally take a video of your car for like 25 seconds, you send it, submit it, and it'll give you possible diagnosis. How cool is that? Right? How cool is that? Now I can actually take my phone and I can set it down and I can put it in front of an infusion pump and I can turn it on and it can tell me, hey, it pumped 2 cc's too much.
So one day we don't need doctors. Just take a selfie and tell them what's wrong.
Hey, maybe one day my cell phone will do x-rays. That'd be some awesome future into tomorrow, right? But AI is incorporating a lot of stuff, right? And they are doing medical diagnosis with AI. They're using that EMR and they're compiling it all together and having AI kind of summarize the findings of all the different things and listing out possible causes and cures. And it's guiding doctors into a direction of diagnosis. It's kind of cool, isn't it? It's also kind of scary, right? So AI is doing a lot of things, and I talk about this one all the time. It's one of my favorites. Is there's a hospital in Oklahoma that when you walk in, it links your Bluetooth watch or your iPhone or your Samsung phone, and it asks you if you'd like to connect your health data to the medical network. And it will connect you to your medical network. And when you show up at the doctor, he'll have whatever your phone said. He'll have your steps, he'll have your physical activity, he'll have your heart rate. With my iPhone, when it's not broke, it does my blood pressure and my CO2. All that stuff will get sent and annotated and logged and done. It's pretty cool, isn't it? That's that Internet of Things, which they're now calling medical Internet of Things, which they used to call healthcare Internet of Things, which tomorrow will probably be something different. But right now, that Internet of Things. What's an Internet of Things? What is it? You guys heard this term? What is an Internet of Things? Yeah, it's all that stuff. Yeah, so at my home, my house, my Internet of Things is exactly that. It's my refrigerator, my washer and dryer. It's my thermostat, it's my kids' iPads, it's my TVs, it's my laptop, my computer. In a hospital, it's the IV pumps, patient monitors, CT, the blood pressure machine, wait, John, that's all the stuff we do. You understand? You're the medical Internet of Things. You are the medical Internet of Things. Yes, it's managed and overseen by IT, but you are the medical Internet of Things. Right? That's your stuff. How many technicians you got trained to do medical Internet of Things? And I know everybody says, yeah, but if I do, they'll go work for IT and they'll get paid more. Right? In some cases, that's true. In some cases, not so much. But that medical Internet of Things is you. That's the stuff that you and your team, your techs, take care of every day. You're supporting the medical Internet of Things. So why aren't you collaborating with IT? Why don't you have a lasting relationship with people there? Why don't you have a list of phone numbers to call if you have an issue with the Internet of Things, the medical Internet of Things? All right, because there's only two people that are really critical in the medical Internet of Things. It's the biomed and the IT department. Everybody else is pretty much a user. All right? Do you understand how important you are now? Do you understand the criticality of your role to the success of a healthcare organization? And by being in those meetings and articulating that oh, by the way, that medical Internet of Things that everyone's talking about, that's me. Do you mind if I talk? A lot of times the answer is, I didn't think about that. That's a really valid point. This medical Internet of Things that supports the entire healthcare organization that you work in is your responsibility. It's your responsibility. And you have to move forward. So then people ask me, why are they merging IT and the BMed shops? Because they're the Internet of Things. whether you know it or not. And subconsciously, I know all the IT guys are like, yeah, that's all the devices that I connect to it, right? Right? And they think through that. But it's a lot of times until you hear it said, nobody really thinks about that. Have you thought about that? Yeah, see, because you live in that world. But has anybody else thought about that? It's pretty critical skill that you have, right? Pretty important thing. So the future of biomeds on the horizon. Robotic surgery. They're doing away with the doctor. Who maintains the robotics? That's another path for a biomed to go, right? That I can train him on. That's another training path that a biomed may take. Robotics, hydraulics, right? It's transforming procedures and rehabilitation. I saw the robotic, it was it looked like a medieval torture device, but it was no kidding. A person was like wheeled in and they were put into it and it moved their limbs in certain ways to do physical therapy. So it was somebody that had a traumatic car accident and had trouble moving, and this machine was measuring the resistance that they put against its movements in order to conduct physical therapy for this patient. There was no person involved. The only person involved was an orderly that took him down there, and the receptionist that checked him in and strapped him in the little machine. And then the machine did all the physical therapy on all of his limbs and parts. Pretty cool, isn't it? I mean, it's really cool. But who's going to maintain it? Right. So there's a lot of really cool stuff. And then the AI-powered diagnostics. We've talked about that. How about the AI-powered diagnostics for your medical equipment? How about an AI machine that can say, hey, you know what? This pump is kind of starting to slow down on its speed. I need you to go PM it. That'd be great, wouldn't it? How about not just does inventory, but tracks where your inventory is with RF tags or GPS? You want that, don't you? You're like, I want some of that. How do I get that? But how does anybody know to get that in your C-suite? Did anybody tell them? Has anybody told them that, hey, you know what, we got an inventory problem? That I know I have 1,000 pumps, but I can only find 800 of them. There's systems out there, AI systems, that can help me do my job better. And oh, by the way, I'm the Internet of Medical Things. Right? So there's AI-powered, lots of AI-powered stuff that'll help us be better at our jobs. And then again, the smart hospitals, the interconnected systems, and the implications of maintenance and efficiency. These smart hospitals are cool. They're really cool. That's the one that I kind of talked about with where it links to your phone and adds that, and everything is interconnected. One of the things that I thought was kind of interesting is in this smart hospital, when they went in to do their blood pressure and stuff like that, they sat down in a machine and they put their arms in it. You guys seen the cuffs at Walgreens? That's all it was. And then it also did heart rate, and it also did a retina scan. And all actually, and this is why I know all about this. My buddy was diagnosed with high cholesterol because of the retinal scan. Because it went in and it optic nerves and things like that. There's something inside of your eyes that can determine if you have high cholesterol or not. It can be detected in the eyes. So this machine detected it, immediately sent him to the cardiologist, immediately got him some medicine for high cholesterol. Pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah. That's all you. You got to maintain it. So how do we get through that? Well, we get through that through, as I said, advanced IT training and knowledge.
AI related, the hallucination is a very big problem here. All data, AI driven data,
So,
the bias.
So you can overdata it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But give it a year. Give it a year. Give it 2 years. Right. Last year, ChatGPT was okay. It's great now. And then not only that, it learned me. My ChatGPT account learned me and now writes to me, like my style. So we'll get there. It'll get there. AI is just consistently growing. Right. And it's that you got to develop those strong skill sets, those advanced IT, that cybersecurity knowledge. You got to understand the basics of machine learning and data analytics. What do I do with this data? Now I've got this AI machine that spits out all this data. What do I do with it? What do I do with all this data? Well, now I got to correlate it and say, okay, this data has shown me that I'm kind of over PMing this, or I'm kind of under PMing this, or this is kind of my fail rate for this. So, and it's always this part. So I need to order a bunch of these because I know these are what's going to fail on this. So I have them ready in stock. It's going to tell me this is what normally fails so that I could quickly or quicker get it back onto the floor. The AI analysis of that data can analyze that data. You know, what's our normal failure? And at what rate? So how many do I need? Right? Now, there are some other things that it just can't predict. Like, I'm going to need thousands of ventilators because COVID happened. Right? There's some things that you have to do yourself. So AI can't predict everything, but it can help you. It can help you lead along the way. But you have to have somebody who understands how to use it. You have to have somebody who understands how to analyze that data and make decisions based off it. Because data is great. It's great to have data, but if you can't make a decision off it, what's the value in data? What's the value in data with no decisions? And then you have to have effective communications and cross-disciplinary teamwork. IT, biomed, nurses, nurses assistants, doctors, radiologists. How many different types of people? Phlebotomists. Right? The hundreds of different people that use your equipment that you have to talk to and communicate with every day in a common language. And enabling them to understand that common language is critical. And that takes training. It takes understanding, right? I had a friend of mine who told me a story about they actually did this class called Hospital 101. And all it was a, no kidding, a list of every department inside of the hospital. And they all sat in a classroom when they first got hired, and a representative from each one of them departments walked in and said, this is what we do here, and these are what the people inside of this clinic do. And then another one came in and said, this is what we do, this is the clinic. He said that it improved efficiency by about 50% because they could talk to each other. Purely because they could talk to each other. That communications and cross-disciplinary teamwork is essential to the success of the medical Internet of Things and all that stuff that we do. And I'm running out of time. Commit to continuous education. You have to continue to grow. We talked about that. You got to continue to grow. You got to build a professional network. You got to know those people in them other areas. And if you don't know them people, you got to know somebody who knows somebody, right? It's that whole two friends thing, or the Kevin Bacon theory. You got to be within 7 people of them, right? You heard the Kevin Bacon theory that you are related to people within 7 people. You know somebody? Yeah. That's 6 degrees of separation, something different. Anyway, could be the same, and I could be screwing it all up, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean, right? You got to have that connectivity. You got to embrace that professional network, and you have to embrace that hands-on experience, right? There are guys over 40 who are really good at fixing stuff, not so good at sending emails, but embrace that. Embrace that, because if that's what they're good at, exploit what they're good at, right? That's also a mantra at CBET. Exploit what people are good at and underpay them. Zach's one of our instructors. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. So embrace that hands-on experience, and more importantly, lead by example. Lead by example. Be a leader, right? And remember, a leader is not a title. A leader is an action. A leader is not a title. A leader is an action. Be a leader. Be a leader in your field. Be a leader in your team. Be a leader in your capabilities. Lead yourself. Lead others. You'll lead to success.